Excuse me, I'm looking for Mrs. Goodwin. This is how the game starts, and this is what it'll be about. But first we need to answer the question, what is Distraint? Distraint is a 2D psychological horror game created by Jesse McKinnon and released on 21 October 2015. It's a dark and grim story about an ambitious young man named Bryce. It's a story about dreams and regrets. Name: Bryce. Mission: take over Mrs.
Goodwin's apartment.
Old lady asks if she can get one more week to pay her debts, but the decision has been already made. Bryce needs to take the apartment. I'm sorry. Bryce sees weird hallucinations when he's alone in the room. It stopped?
No.
This moment will stuck in Bryce's mind for a long time. The feeling of guilt is enormous. Well, it's time to go home, isn't it? But the elevator stops working. There is no coming home. The only way is to go through apartment 213 at the end of the hallway. Rooms are empty. Dead silence all around. Bryce takes a couple of steps and... dead body. The only thing he sees is the dead body of someone who took his own life. What comes around goes around. Fuck it. Suicide note. Author unknown. Bryce looks around the apartment, and after solving a puzzle he enters a mysterious door that appears behind the curtains. There are 3 gentlemen waiting for us: McDade, Burton and Moore. They convince Bryce that everything is fine and he did the right thing.
It'll all pay off for you, kid.
It was wrong.
Nonsense. Soon you'll be one of us. Only 2 more names to take care of.
I felt both, joy and sorrow.
Would it be worth it?
Bryce goes further and finds a note. There's an elephant in the room. Suddenly, an elephant starts running towards us and we need to escape. Oh my god. It was all a dream? I need to wake up. Distraint wakes up in his apartment and decides to go drink some coffee. After doing so, he hears something coming from the bathroom, but after investigating it, it turns out that nothing happened. What was that? After returning to the kitchen, he sees his parents. His dead parents. They're sitting at the table drinking his coffee. What are you 2 doing here? You should be dead by now.
Oh, we know, honey, but we're here to tell you something.
The noble parents of the main character try to convince him to change his job and stop chasing money. One could say that this is the
perfect proposition.
Rain turns into blood and Bryce hears something coming from his bedroom door. I'm looking for Mrs. Goodwin. Is this the right address? Entering the room, the stranger sees hallucination of Mrs. Goodwin slowly fading away. Bryce gets dressed and the screen slowly fades to black. Bryce is still thinking about Mrs. Goodwin, but the job won't do itself. Next target is Mr. Taylor. The old man lives in a small cabin in the woods, but his house interferes with the construction of a highway that would bring a lot of new tourists to the town, and as Mrs. Taylor points out, money.
I know why you're here. Let's get this over with.
You know that this highway will be very useful for our city, right? Besides, we gave you fair compensation.
Well, I have no choice but to accept this offer.
He asks the young gentleman for a favor. His goal is to light a fireplace in his cabin.
Can I ask you for something one last time?
Yes, of course. What do you need? This time Price needs to find Mrs. Taylor's dog that went missing not long ago. The dog escaped a little bit into the forest and he's eating something. He's eating Mrs. Goodwin.
Scared? What pity.
Young man goes back to the cabin to turn on the compressor so electricity can be turned back on.
Bad decision.
Price sees another bloody hallucination by turning on the washing machine, but because of that he can lure the dog back to the cabin. He comes back to the dog and sees him eating, but this time he's eating a fox. It was just a hallucination. Calm down. The dog walks towards his house and we follow him. After a while Price meets the elephant again, but this time the animal falls off the bridge.
It's not over yet.
Mr. Taylor is waiting for us in front of his cabin.
Thank you, young man. All papers are signed and waiting for you inside.
It's them again. McDade, Burton and Moore are here again to congratulate Price for another successful job. Again convincing that everything is fine and Mr. Taylor deserved that. In the end they want Price to dance with them. Another nightmare. But wait, there's something else.
It's your fault.
Price is called to the nursing home to visit Mrs. Goodwin, who had a stroke. He wakes up and it's time for the morning routine. But suddenly the phone starts ringing. It's him again. A guy from the nursing home is calling Price to visit Mrs. Goodwin, but this time in real life. He of course agrees to visit her. Returning to the coffee machine, Price sees his parents sitting at the table again.
We do not want you to pursue the riches at the expense of others. Please change your job, son.
Perfect opposition.
conversation between Price and his parents gets interrupted by someone knocking at the door and asking for Mr. Price. Next location that we can see is a nursing home. Main character walks around doing people favors, but finally enters the room with the skeleton. The skeleton has a flower in its hand. Switching flowers with the bow, Price gets something to give to Mrs. Goodwin. After that, he can enter Mrs. Goodwin's room and talk to her.
Guilty and ashamed.
I still feel horrible for taking over your home. I shouldn't have done that.
Stop it, young man. You shouldn't blame yourself.
You should. Monster, monster, monster.
Last name. Last push. Mr. Jones. The takeover of Mrs. Jones' house goes quite well, except for a conflict with the band that was supposed to play at the farewell party. But after an agreement, everything ends according to the plan. And we see Price, McDade, Burton, Moore, and the band dancing. White background, music playing from the gramophone, and the door appearing from the ground. That's all we can see. A moment later, we see Mrs. Goodwin talking with some strange man. They are talking about some changes that Mrs. Goodwin wanted to make, and about her new friend.
It's time to see consequences of your actions.
Price wakes up. He's hearing something coming from the kitchen. It's parents again. Slaughtering something in the kitchen.
Can't you see, son? This job is not for you.
No. Stop it! Now! It's time for our last morning routine. Price gets his coffee and decides to read the newspaper. The newspaper says that Nancy P. Goodwin died. No. It can't be.
It's your fault. It's all your fault. You did this.
Time to see Mrs. Goodwin one last time. I know you don't blame me for anything, but I'm sorry. From the little I've got to know you, you deserve better. Your passing was a wake-up call for me. I've decided to quit. Wherever you may be, I hope you're okay. I'm sure you are. Oh, and before I forget, I brought you something. It's not much, but may it light your path in the afterlife. Price decides to change his job. He wants to talk to his bosses. That's why the next stop is the office. He distracts the secretary to turn on some phones that are in the bosses' rooms. And here comes the interesting part. Room 1. Burton. First room belongs to Burton, who is talking with Mr. Taylor. He asks if his cabin can be moved to another location so that he doesn't have to be taken from him. Burton refuses in a rather unpleasant way. Price is very confused by his boss's behavior. Room 2. McDade. Second room belongs to McDade, who is talking with Mr. Jones. The young man asks for more time because he didn't get himself an apartment yet. McDade refuses in a very rude way. Again, Price is very confused by his boss's behavior. Room number 3. Moore. Last room belongs to Moore, who is talking to none other than Mrs. Goodwin. Old lady asks for the same thing as Mrs. Jones, which means more time. Moore declines and hangs up mid-sentence. Cozy office atmosphere changes to a dark and bloody one, with the ghost of Mrs. Goodwin leading Price to his destination, where it all ends. On the way there, we see Price's parents cheering him on to make the right decision. It turned out that a party was prepared for Price to celebrate his partnership. I took a long breath and swallowed. I prepared myself to shout out my resignation out loud. But then something happened. A purple silky cloth revealed its secret. A new sign with my name on it.
Greedy monster.
Price decided to stay. Scene changes to Price sitting with someone. Turns out this someone is another Distrainter like Price. But this time, Price's home is taken away from him. Yeah, I got my partnership. Well, I suppressed my feelings, my guilt, and then I kept working for a few days. I lied to myself. It's all okay, I said to myself. Then I was fired. I ran into debts and lost everything. Fucking everything.
Well, we found him dead in his apartment. The only thing we found were a shotgun and a note that says, "What comes around, goes around. Fuck it."
Congratulations, you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I want to become a better content creator, but to do that I need your help. I would really appreciate if you scroll down to the comments and tell me what you liked and didn't like about this video. I'm very proud of myself that I managed to finish this video. This is a very big thing to me, and I just hope you liked it. Thank you, and see you in another video.